close up to the?
Hang on, let me just.
Well, we'll get it closer in a second. Hold on 1 second.
I'm
Yeah.
rolling.
You're rolling. Well, this is a worksheet. This is like what I would prepare for myself for a show. This is a show from. Actually, this is the first act, and I would call this the uh, Markham, Charles Markham theme, basic theme. This is the basic theme here, and I would play that along, and then this was January 2nd, 51, and then I would go ahead and play until I would do a variation of the theme. This is a variation of the main theme. I would continue, and then I would fade out here on page 14. And then there were, if you come up a little, come up this, no, the other way, here, down here. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Now here it says, this is a cue for me. Are you interested in weapons? Now there's a cue there for me. And then there would be more dialogue. Then under the dialogue, I would continue. These are just things that I would have to retain in my head, but I would look for these verbal cues that when I hear them, that's my cue, because I can't follow the script. Segue, then here I would segue to the theme, which was up above, which I already know what I'm doing, and then continue on the next page. Yeah. So I'd watch for this cue. I'm a blackmailer. And then that would be an effect here. That would be my other cue. And then I'd wait for this cue down here. Cue, when I'll never be free of you. Then I would segue to a variation of the theme. I would watch the action, watch what happens. And then as I hear the doorbell, there's my cue for this cue here. And I would segue into the basic theme, and I would go out on Gilbert's entrance. And then my next cue is down here. Yeah, never say the word, gentlemen. And then I would have a bridge, which would take me into this bridge, which would take me into the first commercial break. That was the first act. That's pretty much how I would treat it, you know. Basically, with cues for me to hear in a dialogue, which would prompt me where my next cue was supposed to be, you know. At least
I'll be, you know.
Yeah.
Might be easier.
Right. This is the cover from the folio I did, the Music from Danger. You can see that's the knife into the fence. That's supposed to be a fence there, you know. But that's at that point, that's where I would play the danger chord. That fence would light up from the flashlight, and you would see that. Then we'd continue on the theme with the credits for the opening of the show. Looking at a monitor with the earphones, and that's it. And two busy hands, which I can't turn music with, so most of it's got to stay in my head.
Oh.
Well, as Yul Brynner, that's off the set, you know, during a rehearsal day. Yul with a little more hair than he would have later in The King and I. My first director on The Danger Show. I think Sidney wrote on this to Tony. I think, were we ever this young? Or my goodness, we were young. That's taken on the set. I think it was a picture, not obviously a boxing picture, and with a very young Sidney and a medium-aged Tony Mottola.
And this was Sidney. What's his last name?
Sidney Lumet. Oh, yes. Well, there I am with the man himself, Frank Sinatra, on the left there, myself. I think this could be Carnegie Hall, I would think, around 1982, maybe, 83. Okay. All right, here's one of the Johnny Desmond, Sandra Dee Face the Music shows. And this is probably, we're doing a show, I guess, South American show, I guess, from the background. And I guess up, there's probably the same show with a sleepy Tony Mottola under the sombrero with Sid Weiss playing bass. Of course, we couldn't have the piano player in the set. I guess he's off the set. And there's Johnny Desmond and Sandra Dee. And there's a hanging microphone, a boom mic in the picture.
Okay.
Now there I am. You're talking about the show we were doing on Danger, where I was playing the part of Simon Legree, or doing the Jerry Colonna imitation, whatever, with Sandra Dee. When I was asking her, does she have the mortgage money? If not, fair woman, you belong to me. And along will come Hairbreadth Desmo, he was called, and save her from fate worse than death by paying off the mortgage that she has dug up in her backyard. And then I wind up getting a pie on my face, and he winds up getting a pie in his face.
What show is this?
This is Face the Music. I don't know the title of the show. I just probably
Right.
but it's I don't think they ever had titles for these shows. They just call them, And then you
And then pan down.
pan down. There we are. I've got my pie already, and Johnny's getting his, and Sandra's got another one in the ready there. Like I said before, this is way before Uncle Milty started throwing pies, and I still can't come up with that very famous fella. Oh, goodness.
Okay.
Well, this is a shot at Kraft Music Hall rehearsal. There, pianist is Billy Rowland, and the bass player Eddie Safransky. The drummer is Teddy Summers, and myself on guitar, tuning up. I got a picture of Perry here. This is an afternoon rehearsal. As you can see, nobody's dressed, and this is just for sound checks, that's all, basically. And that, you talked before, so now that, in this instance, I'm using an acoustic guitar, not an electric guitar, for this this part of the show. There's a picture of a very, very young Johnny Carson. And next to him, Skitch Henderson, and then myself. This is probably after I did a little spot on the show, which they always did for all most of the guys in the band. Or he would have Doc Severinsen do solo spots, Clark Terry, Walt Levinsky, Tommy Newsom, myself. Usually at the end of the show, or sometimes if an interview didn't work out, it would fill it in the last 10 minutes with something from the band. But Johnny loved his band and loved the musicians, and it was just a joy to do that show, I'll tell you. Well, here's the White House show we did with Frank and Perry. There's Frank there, and President Reagan, Nancy Reagan. Perry with his hand in his mouth, Bucky Pizzarelli. I think if you'll pan over to this way, you'll see me next to Frank over here. If you'll pan over to the left over here. There I am. And I think at this point, the reason everybody's
Hang on just a second.
start from the beginning.
No, just describe yourself, Stan.
So here I am over here on the left. The reason as I recall, the laughter at Perry and Frank are broken up because President Reagan at this time, if you can come over a little more, you can see the white head of the Italian president and his interpreter. And I think at this part of the show, Reagan is telling Frank and Perry that the Italian president claims they're illegal immigrants, and he wants to take them back to Italy with him. It was a great night. And this is a recording of a song called "It's Sunday." That is the only recording that Frank ever made or released with just a guitar accompaniment, of which I'm very proud. It's a song written by Julie Stein and the lyrics by Susan Birkenhead. And we recorded this in L.A. at Warner Brothers, I think around 1986, 85, 86. One of the last things I did with him, yeah. And it's a beautiful record. It was never put in an album, but it is in his Reprise album, but it was only put out in this form as a 45, and eventually wound up into the album called The Reprise Years.